Good morning, Belen. I'm Stephen Calles.
And I'm Brandon Lubian. Welcome to this edition of WBLN for today, November 29th, 2016.
Over the weekend, Raul Castro announced that his brother Fidel had passed away at the age of 90, and the city of Miami responded quickly and joyfully, taking to the streets to celebrate. I was at the scene and took a closer look at the life of Fidel Castro and his reign. November 25th, 2016 began with the announcement of Fidel Castro's death at the age of 90. It was around 1 o'clock in the morning and shouts could be heard all around Miami. People taking to the streets and rejoicing after hearing the news. Café Versailles and La Carreta were filled with Cuban flags, pots, pans, and an uproar of joy. But why? Castro graduated from El Colegio de Belen of Havana in 1944. Later on, he would begin a civilian militia group to fight against the tyranny of Fulgencio Batista. Castro succeeded and took power in 1959. He was seen as a hero of the people, a freedom fighter, and a charismatic leader. So what would cause the Cuban people to celebrate in Miami? I spoke with alumnus and delegate of the class of 1956, Roberto Borboya, about his point of view as a citizen during the Cuban Revolution.
The uprising was in 1959, and in 1959 we were very hopeful that that would be something good for Cuba, especially being the leader, a Belen alumnus. But everything came down very quickly. We found out that the revolution was turning very much left. So we started organizing to fight Fidel Castro, and that's when, in 1961, we organized a group to go to the Sierra Maestra again and fight against Castro, and that's where we were caught, and I was sentenced to 10 years in prison. And then when I came out of prison, I was still 9 more years in Cuba because they wouldn't let me out, even though we tried and requested our exit. And we were only allowed to leave after 9 years because a Cuban colonel liked our house. So he offered to let us go if we left the house empty. And one thing that I tell a lot of people was that those 9 years were even worse than the years that I was in prison, because in prison I didn't have to pretend anything. We were there, everybody knew why we were there. And when I was out there, I had to work for the government, and I had to pretend I was not doing anything against the government.
Now, going back to, you had mentioned that in 1959 there was actually a lot of hope in the Cuban people because, Fidel Castro had just taken down the regime of Batista.
Right.
So my question is, where did that transition begin, or how did that transition begin from people seeing Fidel as this sort of, savior or this bringer of a transition to a sort of subject of discontent or hatred to some of the population?
Well, I would say that came late 1960 when he started taking people's properties away and putting people in prison for nothing, just for being against him and things like that. And then came the transition after Bay of Pigs towards the Soviet Union, and that's when they couldn't hide anymore that they were going to be a communist regime.
And this also brings up a good point where, despite that apparent transition, the Cuban people were all for Fidel. He was a part of a great institution, the Belen School. He was well revered. And then in 1960, like you said, he started to, the communist manifests of himself and his plot sort of became known. In 1961, you had tried to fight back, as you had said. Despite all of these facts, there are people who in this population in America who praise Fidel almost and mourn his death. Why do you think that there are people who who are sort of in support of Fidel? Why do you think that they...
Well, first of all, and mainly because they haven't lived in Cuba. Okay, there's a lot of romanticism about a leader that it was David against Goliath. Fidel stood against the United States, and that was very well taken in all of Latin America and in a lot of countries in Europe also. So it was a romanticism. They didn't know, because they didn't do that much propaganda about all the killings in 1959 and 60 and even 10 years later.
This generation that had lived through the terror of Batista, who had gone through this spike of hope with Fidel's uprising, and then this transition into an even worse state. This generation, whoever had the opportunity, moved over to specifically Miami, because Miami is very big with the Cuban population, especially Belen. So the generation after that, their job was to bring that tradition and that culture that your generation had left to our generation, the students here at Belen. Sure. So the question is, in your opinion, the reason why you left your land, your people, everything you knew, that sacrifice that you made, what is it that our generation should focus on doing now to further that mission of finding a safe haven for our people?
I really think that we need to not forget our history and why we are here and why we are like we are, and the Cuba that we miss had the values that we believe in, and that's what I would like to be part of.
The burial will be December 4th. Thanksgiving is a time for families to come together and give thanks, but many this year, especially in our community, may not have anyone. This year, the city of Miami has been closing shelters in the downtown area, and Jesuit Church has felt the brunt of this action, with increased number of homeless seniors asking for help. Students, Key Club members, Belen alumni, and members of the Knights of Columbus, the Coral Gables section, took part in the Reyes Magis Thanksgiving of Belen Alumni Association. Students and alumni fed over 200 people, made up of the senior citizens group, the homeless, and the children from the CCD program at Jesuit Church in downtown Miami.
Every year in Thanksgiving, and we throw another party for them for Christmas. This soup kitchen of Jesuit Catholic Church has been running for 47 years without stop, because there are a lot of senior citizens in the downtown area, and their main sickness is that they live alone. Lonely people. These are lonely people. Men, women. These are people who do not have papers in the United States. They're immigrants to the United States. Many of them. And many of them, if they can work, because not all of them can work, they clean houses, they clean offices, they do all sorts of other things in order to keep themselves going. They can't go back to their countries because they are illegally here. If they go back, they cannot come back to the United States.
The Reyes Magis Thanksgiving was started by members of the Alumni Association and has served the Jesuit Church for the past 5 years, donating and feeding the less fortunate.
I've been doing this now here at Jesuit for 5 years. This particular part, it's a two-part project. This particular part serves those for Thanksgiving. We serve lunch, and then we give out gift cards for them to buy food for their families for the actual Thanksgiving dinner. Today is the 19th of November, so this is when we're having the luncheon, and then next Thursday they will be having their own dinners with their own families. Today here we are serving over 220 people, and it seems to have been a resounding success. We have musicians here from our Beams section, which is the Arts and Entertainment section of the Alumni Association, and there are several board members here who also came to help and serve. Also, the members of the Key Club were invited by the Alumni Association to come and help us with the project. So we're very, very happy to show our spirit in Thanksgiving, to as Father Willie says, to be men, estovir, and be men for others in this Thanksgiving season. Hopefully this will continue in the years to come. I'm very happy to see the boys here from Belen and from the Key Club, and very happy to see our fellow alumni come and participate and donate and of their time and of their treasure to this incredible event.
Entertainment was provided by Oscar Bustillo, class of '86. And the end of the meal, gift cards and turkeys were distributed. When the Reyes Magis will distribute toys at the Jesuit Church. If you would like to participate, please see Key Club President Angel Aguilar or Mr. Calderin.
Belen held its annual gala. This year's theme was Light of the Night, celebrating Miami and its influence of culture, food, and music as it ties into Belen. The festivities took place at the University of Miami Shalala Student Center.
The 2016 Belen Gala, raising some very needed funds for the Belen financial aid program. Having a wonderful time with great company and some great friends.
But more importantly, the proceeds of the gala benefit the Belen Scholarship Fund, where 25% of students enrolled benefit from this scholarship.
Gala is one of the most important fundraisers that we do all year. All the money that we make on this gala goes to help with the financial assistance program that we have at Belen. 25% of our student body are in financial assistance at our school, and we give out more than $1.2 million every single year. And we're able to cover that because of events like the Gala and also the Tombola. So it's very important for all the members of the community, of the Belen community, the faculty, staff, administration, especially the parents and the alumni, to take part in this event, so that we can make sure that we can offer a Jesuit education to as many young men in Miami as possible.
The annual gala is one of the most important events. It's actually one of our biggest fundraisers of the year, and it supports our financial assistance program. Many students, 25% of our students in fact, like me when I was here, are on some sort of financial assistance. So this gala and the money we raise means a lot to the bottom line.
November is Jesuit Vocation Month. It is a time that we pray for more vocations to the priesthood and for those who are in the process of becoming a Jesuit. But what does it mean to be a Jesuit? How do you become a Jesuit? Father Willie explains.
Priest different from all other kinds of priests is, well, we have a religious order that has a history founded by St. Ignatius of Loyola. The fact that we're a missionary order, and there's religious orders out there that are not. There are priests that are monks, there are priests out there that are teaching orders, but we're a missionary order with the intention of being able to preach the gospel wherever we get sent. So that makes us different. The fact that we take vows. We take vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, which the diocesan priests, like the priests at Epiphany or St. Timothy's or St. Brendan's or St. Kevin's, those priests do not take vows. They make promises, but they don't take vows like Jesuits take vows, because we belong to a religious order. And the other thing that makes us even more particular is the fact that we're the only religious order in the whole Catholic Church that actually takes 4 vows instead of just 3. So it's poverty, chastity, and obedience. And we take a 4th vow, which is a vow of special obedience to the Pope, to the Holy Father, pertaining to missions. So the idea for Ignatius was you take that extra vow because whenever missionary territory is open around the world, no matter where it is, that the Pope goes to the Jesuits first to send them there. So that what makes us different. We live in community instead of living, individually by ourselves. And we kind of have a tendency of concentrating in schools, some parish work, and the spiritual exercises. which is probably the greatest gift that Ignatius has left the world, and that's very particular to us as Jesuits. Probably the one question that I get asked the most by young men, and that's, how do you know if God's calling you to the priesthood? And it's not an easy answer because it all depends on the individual. Everybody has their own vocation story, how they came about to an understanding that God was calling them to the priesthood. But to a very large extent, I think it has a lot to do also with the same way that you feel inclined to become a doctor or to become a lawyer or something like that. There's a draw, there's an inclination to wanting to do something similar to this. If you're an individual who's been raised Catholic, comes from a good family, and feel like this inclination of being able to do some work that's going to really change significantly the lives of others, if you like dealing with people, and you feel this attraction to the church and a love to working in the church, all these things can be part of like an experience that's drawing you closer and closer to the priesthood. It's not this magical voice that you hear from out of space that tells you that you have to become a priest, but you have to work towards figuring this out like you would many other careers. The one thing I do always emphasize that God always calls very normal, very healthy young men to the priesthood. I always say that the guys who make the best priests are the ones who would also make very good husbands and fathers. Because at the end of the day, God wants people to offer their lives who have a lot of options. Yet in the midst of all these options, you choose to dedicate your life to serving as a priest. The process for becoming a Jesuit priest is, it depends a lot on the individual, but there is kind of a standard procedure that we go through. After we spend some time discerning whether we have a vocation or not, we apply to enter the Jesuits. And if we get accepted, we start a stage of formation which is called the novitiate, which are the first 2 years in which you study various aspects of the Society of Jesus, the history, spirituality, various experiences around the world. You go to third world countries, you go to Europe, and this happens for 2 years. And during that period of time, you're called a novice. And after those first 2 years, basically it's like getting your feet wet. There's an understanding on your part and the part of the guy in charge of the novices, which is called the novice master, that it's time for you to take vows. And so we take vows. We take vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. And after you leave the novitiate and you take your vows, now you're basically a Jesuit. You're not a priest yet, but you're a Jesuit. Then comes the stage of philosophy, where you have to study philosophy for a few years. Then you go to do regency, which is a period of time where you teach at a high school or maybe work in a parish. And you do that for 2 or 3 years, kind of like get some apostolic ministry or some work done. Then after you do that, then you get sent to study theology. And that's normally 3 to 4 years. There's various places around the world. I did mine in Brazil. Father Chris did his in Italy and Rome. So there's different places where we can go. And then after you do theology, comes a moment where you get ordained. And you get ordained first a deacon. You spend 6 months as a deacon. And then you get ordained a priest after that. So in total, it's anywhere between 11 and 12 years of formation before you become a priest. So being a priest is the most incredible experience of my life. I've been a priest now for 16 years, and I've been a Jesuit for 25 years, and it seems to me like it was yesterday that I started. I've experienced things that I never would have experienced if it wasn't for the fact that I was studying to be a priest. I've been places that I never would have gone if it wasn't for the fact that I was studying to be a priest. And the fact that I look back on my life and I realize that there's so many people whose lives I've been a part of, whose lives have changed significantly because of the relationship that's established between us because I'm a priest. It's very humbling, but at the same time very powerful. And the thing that makes me the happiest as a priest is realizing that I just can't imagine myself doing anything else other than being a priest. So I'm very grateful to God for that.
If you have any questions or would like to get more information on vocations, please see or email Father Willie.
Here's your scoop for today. Right before the break, the students competed in the Rubik's Cube Challenge in the Central Patio. Here are your winners. For 4th period lunch, our winner was Salvatore Pizzi, the 7th grader, with winning in 42 seconds. The best tournament time was 38 seconds. For 5th period lunch, the winner was Juanchi Tejeda from 8th grade, winning in a time of 40.27 seconds. Also, 10th grader Brendan Villa showcased his talents with a finishing time of 23.9 seconds. Honorable mentions for making it to the finals go to 6th grader Alejandro Lopez, 7th grader Luis Gonzalez Peña, 7th grader Adrian Fernandez, 7th grader David Gonzalez, and 8th grader Martin Chang. The Belen community is invited to join the Encuentros Juveniles and the rest of the Archdiocese of Miami in a night of praise and worship to celebrate the Christmas season. The concert will begin at 8:30 p.m. at the Youth Center, which is at 3333 South Miami Avenue. Now stay with us as we bring you weather and sports after these messages.
Oh, Jesus, I want to tell all little souls how indescribable is your love.
Experience the beautiful story of Saint Therese of Lisieux, the Little Flower, in a live drama that will inspire everyone in your family and community.
If you found anyone more unworthy than I am, which is impossible, you would grant that soul even greater graces than you have granted me. All he would have to do is abandon himself to your infinite love and mercy.
Actress Audrey Ahern captures the innocence and passion of this most beloved saint of modern times in Therese, the story of a soul.
Yes, I feel it. Even though I had on my conscience all of the sins that can be committed, I would still go in confidence and love and throw myself in Jesus' arms. For I know how much he loves the prodigal child that returns to him.
Want to see this show? You can make it happen. Bring Therese to life in your own community. Call 360-687-8029 to learn how.
You'll see. I will send down a shower of roses.
Celebrate the year of consecrated life with Therese, the story of a soul. Call us today at 360-687-8029 or visit theresedrama.com to learn more.
It's going to be in the low 70s and high 60s, so it's going to be pretty chilly throughout the day. That's going to be the same story throughout the week. What the map is showing us today is we're going to be having no rain. It's going to be pretty clear throughout. And that's going to be the same way on Tuesday and Wednesday. And what the extended forecast is going to be showing us today is we're going to be having a high of 77 and a low of 66. Precipitation will be at 10%, so you aren't going to be seeing any rain. Winds will be coming in from the northwest at 9 miles per hour. That's going to bring in the cold weather. Now for the next 3 days, what we're going to be seeing on Tuesday and Wednesday about the same. We're going to be having a high in the high 70s and a low in the low 70s. Thursday is going to be more or less the same with a high of 80 and a low of 66. And like I said earlier, we're going to have no rain throughout the weekend going into your Thanksgiving break. And with that, let's move on to sports.
Thank you, Raul, and good morning, Wolverine Nation. A plane crash in Colombia carrying 72 passengers and 9 crew members has crashed, among them a Brazilian football team. The mayor of nearby Rio Negro, Colombia, says there are at least 5 survivors. Local media report the first has been taken to the hospital. It's not clear yet what went wrong with the aircraft, which was on its way to Medellin Airport. An aviation expert told CNN last hour that the first pictures we are seeing indicates a severe crash. During this Thanksgiving holiday, the junior varsity basketball team participated in the Lehigh High School Tournament shootout in Fort Myers. The team defeated Northport High School in overtime by the score of 25-24. They also defeated Lehigh High School by the score of 32-29. The team lost to Fort Myers High School by the score of 47-32. Daniel Suero was instrumental in the two wins by making a three-point shot in the last second of both games, and a clutch one too. Track and field workouts began at 3:30. All students, athletes interested meet under the track bleachers. All interested in learning how to pole vault meet outside of Coach Barkeen's office. The freshman basketball team will play at Gulliver. Time is 4:30 p.m. The JV soccer team plays Matter Lakes at Royal Oaks Park. Game time is 4. All student athletes in grades 6 through 12 interested in joining the wrestling team meet in the wrestling room at 3:30 p.m. Let's go to Miami sports. The Miami Hurricanes took on Duke this past Saturday at The Rock and never looked back. Miami was dominant all day, led by star quarterback Brad Kaya, throwing
again
for
all day, lost it up, has a man open.
The Canes, who were celebrating senior day, also had a big performance by the veterans Stacey Coley and David
Kaya steps up, has a man
Coley
wide
recorded
open, and
118 yards receiving and caught a touchdown.
Still on his feet, he's going to score.
134 yards.
His sights on
only 2
Texas.
receptions, of course, both of them being touchdowns. Defensively, Miami held Duke to only 395 yards total.
Already one big play on his resume here today, still in bounds,
and
and
he's going to see what bowl game they play next. Guys, the Dolphins won, and for the 6th straight week, I'm saying this. And again, in dramatic fashion. The story of the game was brought forth by the actions of Niners quarterback Colin Kaepernick. Miami being the hub for Cuban Americans, the fans weren't pleased with Kaepernick all week. Although all the boos, Kaepernick performed well, throwing for 296 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 112 rushing yards. An absolute beautiful day. Shannon threw for 280 yards with 3 touchdowns, and also ran the ball effectively. The game looked to be a blowout, but Kaepernick and the 49ers fought back, and check out the last play of the game. Look at this, down by 7, Kaepernick gets crushed by the Cuban himself, Kiko Alonso. It was a big moment for Cuban Americans and Dolphins as they get the win. There you see Tannehill and Kiko Alonso celebrating. And guys, that's all for sports. Now back to you at the desk.
Thank you, Brown. Be sure to follow us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook for all the latest news and pictures. I'm Stephen Kayas.
And I'm Brandon Lubian. And from everyone here at WBLN, have a great day and stay golden, Wolverines.